Dear brothers, what's up, boys? Good morning. Happy Monday. We've got a fun one to get through today. So we're going to talk about something that almost no dads are willing to say out loud, which is that postpartum can be incredibly isolating for new moms. A lot of us know that. A lot of us see it, especially when you're in the trenches. But for new dads, it is also isolating too, even when it looks like we are doing just fine. And so I want to say this clearly from the start. If you are a new dad and you are exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated, stretched thin, you're burning the candle at both ends, you're confused, you don't know what the frig to do with this kid, and your wife's got all these emotions and all this stuff. You aren't broken, you're not weak, you're not failing, you're just human. And you are in probably, for many of us, one of the hardest seasons of your life. You've never had to take care of a kid before, unless this is baby number 2. You've never had to change diapers and not sleep all night long and have to reorganize schedules. You've never had to do any of that before. And so I want to talk about what that looks like for dad and how the danger of isolation for both of you is a problem, but really putting up this front. And so let's start with this. When my daughter was born, my wife kept saying, especially in the first few weeks, it just doesn't look like you're struggling, talking about me. And I understood why she said that. I looked fine. I acted fine. I moved around like everything was under control. Baby would sleep. I'd get a workout in. I'm cleaning the house. I'm making food. I'm taking care of her. I'm rubbing her feet. The whole thing. I looked like I was cruising. And I was 100% not doing that well. I was running on fumes. I hadn't slept barely at all. We were going through a bunch of stuff just from like a feeding perspective and breastfeeding and issues there with my wife, which was a huge struggle. On top of that, the little ones just don't sleep. And I was frustrated. I was tired. Some nights Maddie would eat a little bit and that would take her a friggin' hour. And then she'd go to sleep for what felt like 30 minutes. And then she'd wake up and be hungry again. And it was like she never hit a window where she would just stay asleep. So I was stressing about that. I was tripping about my own business and, my wife struggling with all this stuff and watching her have some tears from all sorts of difficulty and stressing about if I was doing everything right. And on top of that, you're just dealing with a little gremlin who has no head control and they don't know what they're doing. So it was just really difficult. And the whole time I kept telling myself, my wife, Christy, just gave birth. She's postpartum. She's exceptionally hormonal. There's all of this change that went through her body. She's recovering. She's carrying a lot of load. I can't add to that load. I can't be something that's making her stress out more. And so I put on this somewhat fraudulent armor. I stayed stoic. I was hiding my own struggle. But the part I didn't realize at that time was when I was hiding my struggle, when I was making it look like I had this all together, my wife started feeling like she was the only one that was drowning. And so she was getting the sense that she was the weak one. She thought that since I was breezing through it, there was something inherently wrong with her because there were no cracks, if you will, in my armor. And that wasn't true. It wasn't even remotely close. And so something that we need to understand is this. Somewhere along the line, men were taught that, especially during postpartum, their job is to simply be strong and take on all of these new burdens silently. Now, let me clarify. We should absolutely be bearing the burdens of our family, because when you feel like you're actually carrying a burden, fun fact, you're doing something right. You are the rock. You are the foundation of your family. You are the stronghold of the ones you love. However, bearing that burden in silence isn't strength. It's just isolation. And marriage, having children, is not a one direction support system. It's not, she struggles, stay quiet. It's a team. It's a partnership. Two people carrying the load together. And that might be a little bit different. That might be a 70% of the time I can carry all that load, or 80% or 90%. It doesn't matter what the percentage is. But nonetheless, you guys carry the load together. You are both the baby's parent. Like Christy and I both are Maddie's parents. We both bear responsibility towards that child. But first, we also bear responsibility towards one another. And just because she is postpartum and yes, super hormonal, very exhausted, the hormones are freaking nuts. All of it's crazy. What women go through postpartum is incredible and wild. But that doesn't make her an incapable human being. She is my wife. She's my partner. She's my queen. We do this together. And when you hide everything, you're unintentionally, or you may unintentionally teach her, I'm fine. You're the one who's not. And that isn't what you mean, hopefully, but that's kind of how it can land. And that's how it landed a little bit for us. And so this brings us to a second part, which is just as important as what we just talked about. There is a difference between communicating struggle and collapsing on your wife. So communicating is something along the lines of, hey, I'm a little bit smoked today. I'm struggling. Maddie had a tough night. Today's a busy day work-wise, and I'm just struggling a little bit. But let's figure this out together. Dumping sounds like, I can't do this. I'm falling apart. You're going to have to figure this out. Obviously, the latter is not an option because, fellas, your wife doesn't need you to crumble. You can't crumble. But she does need you to be real. She needs to know that you're human, that you have some fallibility, that you don't always have it all together, that you're not this buttoned up, perfect human being. Because fun fact, you're not. She needs to know that she's not the only person that's having some struggles right now. One sentence can reconnect you guys in a fabulous way. Maybe it's, hey, this is brutal. I'm having a tough day, but we're in this together. Let's keep putting one foot in front of the other. I just need a moment here to collect myself and let's keep rocking. And just understand that when men don't express anything, even small things, we tend to have a resentment that can grow. And so internally, you may have this thought of, I'm giving everything I have right now. Doesn't anyone see that? Doesn't my wife see that? There are plenty of times where you're going to be like, I'm doing all of this work. And meanwhile, she just snapped at me about something, or she's not noticing it, or whatever. And you're thinking to yourself, does she not see all the things that I'm doing? Does she not appreciate all the things that I'm doing? You're saying that to yourself. Meanwhile, she's thinking, why am I the only one having a hard time? Am I doing something wrong? Is there something broken about me? Never mind the fact that all of you know that we live in a world of social media where our wives and us and the world is giving us all of this garbage information that we're constantly being bombarded with. If you're doing this, you're doing it wrong. If you're feeding your baby like this, if they're sleeping like this, oh, they're not sleep trained, sucks to suck. You're a terrible person. Those are the messages that are coming through constantly. FYI, also a good reason to get off social media in the first, for a long time, generally speaking, but especially postpartum, just cut it out. It will save you a lot of heartache and a lot of comparison. One of my favorite things that a guy in my Bible study has said multiple times is comparison kills joy. It does. Comparing yourself to other people and how they're doing it. Yes, there can be benefits to seeing how people are doing things and getting information, but generally speaking, it just causes stress. And although you might notice that this little early disconnection is subtle, over weeks or months, especially in that first few months, that can become a wedge between you and your spouse because she's already a little bit emotional and messy and maybe unpredictable, and so are you. But when you add that extra isolation, you're creating further distance between the two of you. Understand that closeness to a certain extent comes from shared vulnerability, not some kind of emotional stoicism of sorts. You have your wife is the person you can be vulnerable, is the person you should be vulnerable with. She is your closest person. She is that person, just like you should be that person to her. All the time, you should be able to come to one another with your struggles. That is your job. We were built to handle challenge, especially men. We are designed to handle challenge, but we are not designed to handle it in isolation or alone. The Bible's super clear about bearing one another's burdens. So are pretty much every other piece of excellent ancient wisdom. It tells us to bear one another's burdens, not pretend you have no burdens and so your wife doesn't worry, or not to carry everything silently. Fatherhood is in the trenches work. Sleepless nights, baby feeding like a psycho. I was just talking to a buddy this weekend who was talking through the fact that his daughter is like eating a little bit and then she doesn't want to eat and then she falls asleep and then she wakes up and eats again and she's just eating like random doses across time. And he's like, I just can't figure it out. All of that is stressful. Never mind, you might be going through just general marriage stress, not because you and your wife have any problems, but it's just there's stress from this baby and work. There's financial pressure. There's identity shifts. There's physical shifts. Your wife has gone through this huge physical change. You know, you may have gone through some physical changes. There's hormone changes. All of that stuff is incredibly real. And it changes you. It stretches you a lot thinner than you'd like to think. And it humbles you. Admitting that you are struggling is not a weakness. It's a part of the process. It's a part of becoming the man that you are supposed to be, that God made you to be. However, what actually matters is not the fact that you are admitting to struggle. It's that you're not caving under that struggle. You can do both, admit to struggle and still show up and put one foot in front of the other. And so here's what I kind of wish someone had told me in those first few weeks and even the first few months. And hopefully this is beneficial for you guys, especially new dads. Number one, communicate the small things early. Don't wait until you're at your breaking point or you're getting mad. A simple, hey, I'm tired too, keeps you connected. Talk openly about what you're both going through. Sometimes those first few weeks of being parents is a wonderful time and brings a different level of communication for you both. That may be one of the first times in your relationship where you've both faced legitimate struggle as a team. Some people have gone through other things, but when you have a kid, there's real struggle involved. There's real joy involved. But there's no place that says, having a baby is just like easy work. It's not. And so this could be one of those first times that you guys are having a legit struggle. Communicate about that. Talk openly about that. Hey, I'm struggling with feeding at night. Hey, I'm struggling with this. Whatever it is. But be open about that. Number two, share the load mentally and physically. If your wife is feeding the baby, you take the next task. And honestly, that could be messy. You could be rotating shifts at nighttime. Sometimes that works. Guess what? Sometimes it doesn't. For my wife and I, we actually both had to be awake a bunch of times because of, some of the issues that we had with feeding. And we made it work. And then that would rotate. Some days, maybe I would do more breakfast and then we would trade out naps later on. I don't know what it looks like for you and your spouse. And guess what? Whatever it is, just make it work. But you have to be a team. You have to share the load amongst each other. And again, what that percentage is irrelevant. If you are doing 50% and she does 50%, cool. If it's 80-20, 70-30, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are acting as a team and you are communicating about that. Number 3, show grace to one another, to her and to yourself. Both of you are in completely uncharted territory. Both of you are operating on minimal sleep, plenty of stress, massive responsibility. Just thinking about keeping this little creature alive is stressful. Like, am I going to break them if I don't hold their head up right? Like, oh, they're head lolled. I'm going to have to go on Google to see if something's wrong. Like, there's just so much responsibility that is beautiful, but it's difficult. Be graceful with one another. Your wife is learning how to be a mom. She's healing from postpartum, whether it's C-section or not. Everything is adjusting. Everything is learning. Neither of you is going to do this perfectly. You can't. It's impossible. Extend grace. Forgive quickly. Assume the best about each other. There's going to be things that your wife says that you're like, I can't believe she would say that to me. Have grace. She doesn't mean it most of the time. Likely will apologize later on. Don't take whatever is said to one another to heart. Be very patient. Be calm with your words. It's hard to do when you're tired, but understand that that matters. Number 4, remember and remind her, really, she's not alone. Remind yourself you are not alone either. You are both new to this. You're both overwhelmed. Say that out loud. Number 5, do not martyr yourself. You don't get extra points for pretending that you're fine. Your wife needs a partner. She doesn't need a silent workhorse. And on the other end of that, there is a Goldilocks mean here. You also can't get extra points for acting perfectly fine. You also don't get extra points for acting like you can't handle any of this and that you are just completely broken and it's all on your wife. That's a dereliction of duty as a dad. Finally, talk to your boys. You have brothers for a reason. Talk to other dads. Text your friends. Lean on one of your communities. Isolated men always break. Always. Connected men always endure, or they at least have the skills and the community to endure. I'm not saying that you need to go on the internet and post your woes to the world. I'm not a big fan of that. However, have a buddy. Maybe it's your father. Maybe it's your father-in-law. Maybe it's your best friend. It should be someone you are close to that are your boys who may be going through the same thing. I cannot tell you how invaluable my buddies were when my little girl showed up. Hey man, I'm struggling with this. Do you remember this? Did you struggle with something like this? Did you go through this? What do you think I should do? How do I do this? And honestly, maybe it's like, hey man, I'm on my way to go pick up some stuff. Can I give you a holler and just talk? Just don't isolate yourself from the world. Talk to your buddies. If you have the opportunity to go do some things with your buddies for a morning, go do it. Maybe that's something that you swap out with your wife where it's like, hey, go to lunch with your friends. I've got the baby. Or maybe this weekend we're going to go do something with our friends. Do not isolate yourself from your brothers. If you have a way that you've got a guy you can work out with in the mornings or something like that, whatever it is, connect and do not stay isolated from your brothers. They are there for you. They are there to help you. All right, let's close this out. If you're a new father, I want you to walk away with this. You are not supposed to have all of this together. You're not made of steel, even if you think you are, and you are not supposed to suffer in silence. You are strong. You're a husband, you're a father, you are a man, and this part of your life, especially this first few months of being a dad, is only going to make you a better, more refined version of yourself. You are in the fire, and that is going to make you better. Show up for your wife, show up for your kid, but also be honest in showing up. Pretending you're fine doesn't make you strong. It just makes you distant. And so real strength it's kind of having the courage to say, I'm in this with you. I'm struggling too. And we're going to get through this one step at a time. But it's still showing up. It's being there for your family. In the midst of struggle, you still wake up. You still show up. You're still doing that feeding. You're still rocking that little one to sleep. I think one of the real beauties of being a dad is all of that struggle makes those first smiles, the coos, the little frog snuggles, the little wake up scrunch they do when you take them out of their bassinet or crib. All of that is just so much more beautiful when you have been in that struggle. But it's okay to admit that it's a struggle, because it's going to make all the rest of that worth it and beautiful. And, I'm in a position now where I look back on those first couple of months and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was incredibly difficult. But man, was it beautiful. Man, we made it through that. And now we have this beautiful little girl and she's about to crawl and all this stuff. That's the cool part about being a dad. Beautiful part about fatherhood. Appreciate you boys. Have an incredible day. Have an incredible week. Stay after it. Dads, lean on one another. That's about it, boys. Let's get after it. Be strong. God bless. See you, boys.